Hola, me llamo Miss Jessica, and welcome to my classroom. A little while ago, a couple stopped me on the sidewalk to ask about my power chair. I'm in a power chair. See, look, it's a power chair. Okay. So they asked about racing, about how much it cost. They were very curious, and I was more than happy to help. They said they had a friend in a wheelchair and that it would be a game changer for him, and it really would be. It really, really would be. She saw my IU sticker and said she had one similar, but he commented about my other sticker. You know, Teachers for Trump. So he commented saying that Trump was a dictator, and I just looked at him. I didn't expect it. I didn't know what to say. I had no words, and they walked off holding hands. That was the end of it. So, now that I've had a little bit of time to think about it, to the man on the sidewalk. So, to the man on the sidewalk calling Trump a dictator. If you were my student, and this was an election for the class president, I would be speaking to the guidance counselor. I'd recommend that you retake high school government, because if you think that a president can become a dictator, you have a severe misunderstanding of the U.S. government. Thinking that a dictatorship is even possible with the Constitution, you really need to retake high school government. I'd also request that the counselor start seeing you for unwarranted hate and disdain for a classmate. Because in reality, a fellow American is just a classmate. And I'd also call your parents. I would call your parents about your poor social skills. Because as a kid, as a student, that is when you learn. That is when you learn the right way to do things and what's nice, what's polite, and name calling is unacceptable for kids. It's most definitely unacceptable for adults. Now, having said all of that, God bless the USA. God bless all of those who serve others and humanity. And God bless my psychologically abused students. Because the world is my classroom, and there are so many of my students emotionally abused, psychologically abused, and their hearts are torn apart because they don't know what to think. They can't think. They're just following their emotions, and their emotions have been manipulated. So, to all of my students, double check your work. Prove it to yourself. If your emotions are tied up and you are an emotional mess over this stuff, use your brain. Think. Don't feel. These are things and these are times that you use your brain. Your brain is your double check. You need to figure it out on your own. But the way that I feel after encountering for lack of a better phrase, like I said, if these were my students, and as far as I'm concerned, the world is my classroom. And I feel very much like my students are showing up to class with bruises on their arms. So please double check yourselves. There is also something going on with, I'll go through the definitions another day, but today, if there was a white man who was voting, if there was a white man who was voting for, well, actually, take that away. If you were voting for the white man because he is white, then that is racist. If you are voting for the white man because he is a man, that is sexist. So, having said that, if you are voting for the black woman because she is black, that is racist. And if you're voting for the black woman because she is a woman, that is sexist. And that is not American. The dream was that we judge each other based on the content of our character, not the color of our skin, and definitely not what we have under our clothes, whether we are a boy or a girl or whatever you want to be. When you show favoritism, that is racism, just as much as discrimination is racism. And the same with sexism. Favoring a female is sexism. And we've gotten past that, haven't we? I mean, seriously, haven't we gotten past racism and sexism? And we're just, at this point, can't we just all agree that we're Americans and just be equal on that? That kids only see the difference in people. The only difference they see is either you're a kid or you're an adult. That's it. But then when you get to be an adult, suddenly there are a million different things that we see different. And I don't understand how that changed. But it has changed, and it does change. We are Americans. And we are equal, and we have equal opportunities. At this point, we just need to remember or focus on who the American citizens are and who the non-American citizens are. And I'm a first-generation Mexican. As in, my father was born in Mexico. I was born here. My father had a green card. But when he turned 18, he did what he was supposed to. Just like, your driver's permit. You have your driver's permit and you get your license. You don't have, it's like the driver's permit and the green card are kind of the same thing. At a certain point, you exchange the permit and get a driver's license, and at a certain point, you do what you have to do, and you trade the green card, and you're a citizen. You do what you're supposed to do. So as far as the dreamers and all of that, if they didn't do what they were supposed to do, that's your own fault. That's like driving without a license. You do what you're supposed to do. You follow the rules. And once again, if the world is my classroom, follow the rules. There's basic civilization, etiquette, rules, niceties, courtesies, all of that. But my heart is breaking the way that the world is right now, and the way that there are so many of my students are being manipulated. And that breaks my heart. It really does. And unfortunately, there isn't anyone I can send people to. And I can't tell the people that I love that they are being manipulated. I don't know how to tell them. The one thing that we can all agree on right now is that it's like the life and death of the country is based on this election. And it really is. So if you equate that to a SAT metaphor, that the election is to the life of the country as a bomb is to the life of people right there. So which wire do we cut? Because there's only one choice. There's only one wire that saves us. If you need to cut the correct wire, and you need to vote for the correct person. But the destiny and the future of it depends on that. And I don't know about you, but when it comes to those kinds of things, I like to cheat off of the smart kids. If you're really not sure, cheat off of a smart kid. And then the other question I have, or the other proposition I have, is to take Trump off the ticket. Just hypothetically, he's not on the ticket. He's irrelevant. And Kamala Harris is not on the ticket. And look at the rest of the ticket. Do you want a teacher who hasn't saved a dime towards his retirement? And that's pretty much it on their side, as far as on the Democratic side. But the Republican side, if you take Trump out of the picture, you have, well, let's go back to the Democratic side. You have like it's kind of like the theater kids and the band kids, choir kids. That's who is on Kamala's team. Now, on Trump's team, like I said, you take him out of the picture, take the team captain off of the roster, and you basically have the hillbilly who wants to go into the Marines and wants to go to college and be a lawyer. You have the kid, that's J.D. Vance. And you have the kid who builds rockets, Elon Musk. You have the son of a politician, Kennedy, who wants to get the poison out of our food and make the kids healthy. And as a teacher, there is a huge, huge increase on chronic disease of our students, of our kids, of everybody. So we need to be healthy again. Those are my little notes. But bottom line, double check yourself. Cite your evidence. Prove it to yourself. I'm an English teacher. Persuasive language, I know it very well. I was a speech and debate coach. I understand how language can be manipulated. And because I went to grad school to be a behavior analyst, I recognize I recognize the manipulation that is going on. And ask yourself, it doesn't matter what you're thinking right now, ask yourself if you are being manipulated. How would you know if you're being manipulated? How would you know? But convince yourself that you're right. Show your work to yourself. If you think that, or actually just ask yourself, are you voting for, or would you be voting for the woman just because she's a woman? Are you voting for the man just because he's a man? Are you voting for the white person just because they're white? Or are you voting for the woman just because she's a woman? Because if you are, you're being sexist, you're being racist, you're being deceived. So check your work. What I'm seeing is that the people who vote in this coming election, there are people who are voting because they love the United States of America. And there are people who are voting because they hate President Donald Trump. And that is his name, that is his title, that is forever his title. When they say former president, it should be former president, comma, and then former president, comma, President Donald J. Trump, comma, and then the rest of the sentence. So get the grammar correct. It is just the proper way to address him. Just like the principal of the school, it is Principal John Doe. That's his position, that is his name. That's how it goes. All right. My battery's running low. Just think. Use your brain. Use your brains. Please use your brains. Don't let anyone manipulate you. Use your brain and use your voice, because if you don't use your voice after you use your brain, someone else will manipulate your heart. God bless you. And I love you. And I'll talk to you later.